Hello, everyone. So today we're going to talk about the heart health, the heart microbiome connection. So we're supposed to do it yesterday, but there was a lot of flood issues here in Himachal, and that's why we had no option to defer it. So so we know about heart is one of our vital organs that is really important for our overall health, right? Uh, Cardiovascular disease is number one killer globally, right? If not, we are dying of heart disease. Probably, heart disease depletes our quality of life, impacts our health span. Right? In India alone, per 1 lakh people, 272 people die of heart disease, which is higher than that of global average. Right? And if you see right now, most of the intervention related to heart health is just restricted to understanding blood biomarkers, studying LDL, HDL level, cholesterol levels, right? Blood sugar level, you know, but we really need to look beyond, these standard plasma biomarkers and high cholesterol level. There's a deep-rooted connection between the microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living on inside our body and our heart health, right? And we at Gene Freeletics are actually, decoding functions of these microbiome to determine, molecular signature that can predict heart disease. Uh, so if you see gut-heart connection, gut microbiome is involved in every aspect of health, right from immune system health to your metabolic health to your brain health to your digestive health to your cardiovascular health, right? Autoimmune disease and a lot more, right? And in fact, 70% of our immune system lies on gut lining. So gut microbiome sets the tone for immune activity as well, right? So what matters is not what microbes are there, but what they are doing, what metabolites are being produced, right? Uh, for instance, bitrate is one of the, we all know bitrate is one of the most beneficial metabolite, which is one of the short chain fatty acids, which is known to, protect our gut lining, strengthen gut lining, regulate satiety and blood sugar level is one of the key proponents of heart health, but it also acts as signaling molecules and bind to receptor immune cells and fat cells. That plays a role in fat metabolism, reduces the production of cytokines and have an anti-inflammatory effect. This bitrate has a major role to play in our cardiovascular health. That's one of the most beneficial metabolite we at Gene Filtrators look at when we analyze the functions of your microbiome. Uh, so apart from that, there are various other metabolites. What we look so when you talk of cholesterol metabolism, it's not specifically an LDL or HDL. What we look at, so we if we would understand it properly, that 70% of the cholesterol is made inside our body, and we get only 30% from the diet, right? So there are two sources of cholesterol, which is indigenous, exogenous, right? And a lot of this goes into our intestine where it is metabolized, right? And a high level of cholesterol is not called an independent factor, but is one of the factor which can trigger heart disease. But your gut microbiome plays a role here, right? So certain microbes convert this cholesterol in the intestine into an metabolite called corpusclinol, which actually is excreted from your feces. So if you have these bacteria active and expressing their genes, right? So they can actually convert a lot of the cholesterol which you have, right? Which may be excess cholesterol into corpusclinol, which can help you regulate your cholesterol levels, right? So essentially, it's always about input versus output. You doesn't need to just focus on LDL and take resort to drugs like such as statin and other antibiotics and other drugs to suppress your blood pressure level. Right? That is one of the aspects. So do not just fall on one aspect of cholesterol metabolism or an LDL levels, right? As such, to decide the course of your heart health. Right? Second is again TMAO production, trimethylene oxide production, right? So when we consume foods which are high in L-carnitine and choline, right, and we have certain proteobacteria which are active in our gut, they can convert choline and L-carnitine into TMA. This passes through our bloodstream and into the liver where it converts into TMAO, right? And this TMA is responsible for forming plaque, in the arteries, right? So essentially, we look at the TMA production at a molecular level. So if it's really high, probably we may recommend you to, reduce the consumption of foods which are high in choline or cut in probably most of the protein-rich foods, right? Then comes the bile acid. We know bile acid is required for digestion of fat, right? So a lot of this primary bile acid is converted into, secondary bile acid, right? And these primary secondary bile acid acts as signaling pathways, which impacts energy expenditure, metabolism, and inflammation, right? So if a lot of these secondary bile acid is not converted back into primary bile acid, there can be excess, or maybe suboptimal bile acid metabolism, which can impact our heart health. Again, we know certain metabolites which are actually uh, released urotoxins which are released by our microbiomes, such as picresol, which is a byproduct of tyrosine amino acid, or indoxyl sulfate, which is a byproduct of tryptophan. We discussed about tryptophan last week, right, during our talk. And this actually, a high level of uremic toxins causes oxidative stress. High level of uremic toxin in the blood circulation causes oxidative stress, which actually increase the risk of heart disease, right? Similarly, LPS production, right? So LPS is one of the endotoxin which is released by the gram-negative bacteria. It when it goes into a circulation, translocates from the gut and goes into bloodstream, into circulation. It causes adiposity. It makes you fat. It impacts your liver health. It leads to insulin resistance, systemic inflation, even and impact your heart health. That's why people who have it is one of the biomarkers for type 2 diabetes, right? Molecular biomarker for type 2 diabetes. So that's why people who have type 2 diabetes have a risk of eye inflammation, liver disease, kidney disease, heart disease. The other point is high homocysteine production. Again, homocysteine is a molecular waste, metabolic waste, right, which is produced, released as a consumption of high protein like milk and red meat, right? A portion of it gets recirculated, and it is used to produce beneficial stuff like glutathione, antioxidants, and neurotransmitters, right? However, if it's accumulated, it can lead to oxidative stress and release of free radicals, which can impact the functioning of blood vessels. So so and a very high homocysteine production is really harmful for our heart health, right? And that is one of the reason why when we all had experiencing COVID, this was one of the biomarkers which was considered when we were checking our heart health. Again, uric acid. Uric acid. Most of us believe uric acid is an byproduct of metabolism of purines, but it one of the most important thing which we miss is fructose also leads to production of uric acid. So when we are consuming glucose and fructose both, so fructose is something which is not metabolized in the large intestine. It is actually goes into our liver, where a lot of enzymes there actually use ATP, the energy which we have produced to metabolize fructose. And again, it leads to loss of energy, and that's it makes our body in a starvation mode, and we start eating more and even storing whatever energy we have, right? So that leads to storage of fat, right? And uric acid also inhibits the production of nitric oxide, right? And even disrupt the way nitric oxide works. So again, nitric oxide is one of the essential, chemical which is required for relaxing of blood vessels, right? For regulating our blood pressure levels. Again, so these are some of the biomarkers we look when we talk of your heart and cardiovascular health. We look at TMA, we look at cholesterol metabolism, we look at homocysteine levels, we look at precresol and oxyl sulfate. Again, precresol, as I mentioned, is a byproduct of tyrosine. Indoxyl sulfate is a byproduct of tryptophan. The bile acid metabolism, LPS, uric acid, right? So these are most of the pro-inflammatory molecules. We also see a which is an anti-inflammatory molecule. That's about the gut microbiome, the heart connection, right? So let us also talk about the oral heart connection, right? So the microbes living in our mouth, around 100 billion of them, have a role to play in our heart health. There are three different ways how they impact our heart health, right? So as I mentioned about nitric oxide, so the oral microbe pre-digests a lot of foods which are high in nitrates, such as beets, right? It converted to nitric oxide. Again, nitric oxide plays a role in blood pressure regulation and relaxing our blood vessels, right? Uh, Antiseptic mouthwashes, which we generally use, actually disrupt your oral microbiome, and it may raise the bar, it may increase your blood pressure level. So these are really, really harmful. So please check your if you're using mouthwashes, which mouthwash you're using. Probably you should avoid using. Check their, you know, labels, content, if there are any artificial sweeteners also into that. Right. Third is if you have pre-existing oral health issues like gingivitis, periodontitis, or maybe gum disease, it leads to upregulated inflammatory responses, right? And then sometimes this makes your immune cells attack, right? And which which this warfare actually even attack your gums and other tissues inside your mouth, which can lead to leaky mouth and cause, and through this leaky mouth, a lot of these bacteria can move to other parts inside the body. Specifically, they can cause plague in the arteries, right? And that's why people who have uh, oral health issues like gingivitis, gum disease, or going for root canal have heart issues as well. Uh, so we have to look at both the gut microbiome function as well as oral microbiome function. We have to just not focus only on the LDL HD level, which is one of the biomarkers, which is not the only biomarker which can trigger heart disease. So people who who are vegetarian, in fact, because if you go to a doctor, they will say, okay, stop consuming eggs, stop consuming chicken. But the thing is, a lot of people who are vegetarian have abnormal LDL levels, right? And it has a lot to be do with the cholesterol metabolism happening inside the body, right? So you have to see all these biomarkers, right? If when you are checking your heart health. Right? So coming on to personalized, so what matters is the right set of nutrition choices, personalized nutrition choices, right? Uh, which is again unique for your biology. So if you have a high TMO, probably you should avoid foods which are high in, L-carnitine, choline. If your homocysteine level is pretty high, so probably resort to B vitamins or a lot of antioxidants, CoQ10, right? Uh, or you have uric acid, so probably avoid foods which are high in fructose. So fructose here, I mean, which are not fruits as such, but like corn syrups, jam, all the processed stuff, juices, right? The pre-mix concentrate, which you generally, concentrates which you generally consume when you go to any coffee shops, right? So these all have a high in fructose, right? So, it's again, what we do is we actually study your microbial functions, right? At a molecular level, we convert them into biological pathways, and we map these biological pathways various food molecules to determine what food you should eat, what you should minimize, what food you should moderate, what food you should enjoy. So, future would be understanding your microbiome as such, how your microbiome functions impacting your heart health, how it is impacting your blood pressure situation, how it is relaxing your blood vessels, how it is anti-inflammatory, or, how certain pro-inflammatory things such as uric acid and LPS, or homocysteine level is triggering, pro-inflammatory activity, which is impacting your heart health. Right? So that's it for today. Have a great day ahead.